Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Housing Committee meeting of Community Board 11 for February 1st, 2022. My name is John Green. I'm the chair of the committee. And before we begin the meeting, there are some ground rules that we have to obey. First of all, the thing is that no one speaks unless they're given the floor. If anyone in the public would like to make a statement or ask a question, you raise your hand via Zoom, and you will be recognized. I believe that it should be at the bottom of your screen, but if you cannot find it or have a problem with it, please let Ms. Pierre know, and she will help you in any way possible. Questions. Also, the thing is that the chat is not to be used to discuss the business of the meeting. Says if you need any information, like someone's contact information, that the chat can be used for that. But anything concerning the meeting should be said out in public, and so that everyone can hear. And also, please, when you ask a question, let it be on topic and be brief. I think that way we can carry the meeting on as expeditiously as possible. And I believe that's all the rules. And I think also I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:35 p.m. I almost forgot that. But now, Marlene, if you want to call the roll, please do so.
Sure. Stephanie Arroyo.
Here.
Thank you. Raja Flores is excused. John Green.
Here.
Thank you. Robert Harvey. Jada Heredia. Ivy Hume. Alonzo Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. Robin Krinsky.
Here.
Thank you. Beverly Pavone.
Here.
Thank you. Dawn Sanders.
Here.
Thank you. And Candy Vivas Vasquez. You have a quorum, John.
Okay, thank you, Marlene.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
first, okay. The agenda was distributed to the committee before meeting, and if there are no objections, the agenda can be adopted. Are there any objections from the committee? I don't see any hands, so the agenda is adopted. And also the minutes for the January meeting, if there are no objections, they will be adopted as well. Are there any objections from the committee? I don't see any hands there either. So the minutes for the January meeting are adopted. Okay, next. Okay, announcements. I have a couple. The thing is that I was watching a news conference by Mayor Adams on Sunday afternoon, and he created a housing team, and he introduced most of the members of that team. Basically the chief housing officer is a woman named Jessica Katz. And he also named Adolfo Carrion Jr. as the commissioner of housing preservation and development. Now, from what by watching the press conference, I heard some good things that the mayor and also his appointees said, and I hope that these what the agenda, where they put it out, comes to pass. But the thing is that I think, and I hope that the committee agrees with me that someone from Ms. Katz's office should come before the committee so we can ask any questions about her agenda. Are there any objections from the committee that having someone from her office come speak with us? Okay. Okay, so hopefully this will be done soon. I know it may take some time because she's only been in the office for this is like really her second full day. So I'm quite sure it is not going to happen immediately, but I would hope that it will be done within the next couple of months. I hope. And the second thing is that I was watching a show on Channel 7 on Saturday night. They do this show every year, Operation 7 Save a Life, and it had a lot of emphasis concerning what happened with that tragic fire up in the Bronx a few weeks ago. And the thing is, what they announced that there is a program that's done by the American Red Cross, and I know probably for NYCHA residents this doesn't apply, but anybody who lives in private housing, they think you can have up to 3 smoke alarms installed in your home for free. All you have to do is call the American Red Cross at 1-800-RED Cross. And the thing is that I think it's safety in your home is paramount. So I am happy to pass this information along to anybody in the public, and hopefully if this information can be of some use to someone. Those are my announcements. Is there anybody on the committee that has an announcement? No? Okay. So there's no hands, Marlene?
No, John, I don't see any hands from the committee members.
Okay, well, I think those are my announcements, at least from me. So I guess we can go on to informational updates.
Would you like to see if the attendees have any announcements?
Absolutely. Are there any members of the public that may have an announcement? I apologize.
There's one hand.
Okay.
Damaris Vasquez from Senator Cordell Clear's office.
Ms. Vasquez, you have the floor, please.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Good
Yes,
seeing
we
you.
can hear you.
Awesome. Okay, so like I put on the thread, my name is Damaris Vasquez. I'm the community liaison to State Senator Cordell Clear. Our office really wants to establish a good relationship with the community board and especially the housing committee. So that's why I'm here. Just wanted to put my information on the chat and then just let you guys know ERAP is still open and accepting applications. And our office is also assisting a lot of the constituents with the applications and any issues they might have with their landlords. So I just wanted to note my presence and let you guys know that I'm here, and any questions you guys might have for the senator or anything that our office could assist you guys with. We are open and available to having a conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez, and welcome.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, and I would appreciate that you would put your contact information in the chat. Please do.
I did.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there are no other hands from the public for any announcements, if not, we can go on to informational updates. Okay. Forgive me, I'm also half blind, so I'm going to be reading from here. Okay. First of all, as we all know, the eviction moratorium expired on January 15th. So that means that there will be opening the housing court to for people who are in violation of their leases by not paying rent or due to the pandemic. So the thing is that hopefully that this will not adversely affect very many people, and that also that the people who are affected can get assistance in their situation. That is my sincere hope, because I don't want anyone in the community to suffer and risk not having a home. Okay, now next is, okay, the potential 3% budget cut across the board that Mayor Adams has proposed. This is my personal opinion. The thing is that coming out of the pandemic and knowing that there are people who need assistance in anything from housing to, I mean, economically, housing, it's really a bad idea to do that at this point. And the thing is that to help a city recover, it requires investment, not cutting funding. But the thing is, but at least if you don't increase it, at least maintain it at the current level. And I just hope that the mayor and his staff realizes that, and that they rescind this request to cut the budget by 3%. Okay. Now the thing is that now the other informational update was addressed in announcements, because up until Sunday he had no team for concerning housing, but since he's announced one, the thing is that as I said when in announcements, I hope that their agenda is beneficial to the people of this city, as far as making housing affordable, making sure that people are not pushed out into the streets for whatever reason, and that they are sincere in what they said in their press conference on Sunday. And I think that's it. Are there any other informational updates by the committee?
Hi, John. I don't remember you and I speaking. Jason Wu is here to speak from the Legal Aid Society regarding all 3 bullet points. So when you're ready, you can give him the floor.
Well, he can have the floor now. Jason, welcome, and the floor is yours, sir.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for inviting me. John already covered some of the basics. I'm going to flesh out some of the information a little bit more. Regarding the first part, the expiration of the eviction moratorium, so let me just take a step back. So again, my name is Jason Wu. I'm the attorney in charge of the Harlem Community Law Office of the Legal Aid Society. And so I want to just give a quick little bit of background regarding the services our organization provides. Our office, the Harlem office, is located on 2090 Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard. And if you want to get a hold of our office, the number is 212-426-3000. And I'll be putting all of this information in the chat as well. We provide a number of different services related to housing, including the eviction defense work that we do as part of the expanding right to counsel here in New York City for eviction proceedings. We also have a group advocacy unit that works with tenant associations. We also have a homeless rights project that works with people accessing the shelter system. And so again, you can call our office 212-426-3000. And I'll also be including some of the information in the chat. You can also go on to our website to find out how to get a hold of us. In terms of the eviction moratorium, so as John noted, the moratorium expired January 15th. And so there's a couple pieces of information that we want people to know regarding what that means. It does mean that, well, first, housing courts were never exactly closed, but a lot of cases were basically put on hold due to the moratorium, where people would essentially file what was called a hardship declaration to get that protection during the moratorium. But just because the moratorium was lifted doesn't mean that you don't have rights or protections, because there still are. So as Senator Cordell Clear's office noted, there is the ERAP program, which is New York's Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And while much of the funds have been dispersed, and there's conversations about adding additional funds to that program, you can still submit an application. And if you are eligible, if you apply for ERAP, what's the word? If you apply for ERAP, the landlord can't start an eviction case against you while your application is being processed. So ERAP is if you apply for ERAP, if you're eligible and you apply for ERAP, that's also a source of protection for those who apply for ERAP. There's other defenses that can be raised in housing court. There was also a law called the Tenant Safe Harbor Act, which is a defense that you raise after the landlord sues you for non-payment of rent. And for money that is owed between March 7, 2020 and January 15, 2022, that money that is owed cannot be used for eviction purposes. The landlord could potentially still get what's called a money judgment, but it can't be used for a possessory judgment, which would evict the tenant. So there are still protections, even if you are sued, even if you are in housing court, defenses that you can raise in those proceedings. And then in addition, as I noted, there is right to counsel here in New York City. There's also a statewide push for legislation that would provide additional right to counsel throughout New York State. But here in New York City, there is right to counsel. And if you are sued for in an eviction proceeding, you can be appointed an attorney through the court. Many of the different legal services providers, including the Legal Aid Society, is part of that right to counsel program. And again, if you have questions about that, you can, there's multiple organizations that you can reach out to, including the Right to Counsel Coalition, which they have a number 718-557-1379. Or you can also reach out again, like I said, to Legal Aid, and we can provide you with more information about that. So I think that covers most of the eviction moratorium piece of it. Again, the rights that tenants have had before COVID still continue, meaning illegal evictions, illegal lockouts are still illegal, meaning the landlord can't just change the locks on you or throw out your belongings. They have to go to court. They have to get a judgment through the court. There has to be a marshal to kind of do the eviction process. The landlord can't just unilaterally evict tenants and just change the lock. So that's still legal. And if that happens, you can file an emergency application through housing court. And so I see some hands are up. That covers kind of the basics regarding the eviction moratorium. And I wanted to note the right to counsel and broader tenant protections that tenants have. So I can take some questions regarding that, and then we can move to the next items.
Thank you, Jason, very much. Okay, yes, I see that Xavier has his hand up.
I think Dawn had her hand up.
I'm sorry, Dawn.
Please.
Okay, yes, so Dawn, you have the floor.
Thank you.
And welcome to the committee. I'm sorry, you're a new member of the committee. So welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for letting me join your committee. Thank you, Chair Santiago, as well. I actually had a question before when you were talking about HPD, but I'm gonna keep that for later, maybe for later, because I worked with Mr. Carrion Jr. At NYCHA for a few years, and so I'm very excited to see if we can touch base with their office right away, depending on what your priorities are. But for Jason Wu, I was wondering, do you anticipate that there are going to be the same type of harassment that was happening before the pandemic, because before the pandemic, there were people who were just given an eviction notice and then left, or they were given multiple eviction notices, or, you know, people, the landlords were taking advantage of their lack of knowledge about what their rights were. I'm just wondering, do you see that as being an issue? And is there any way we can get the word out to people that, you know, besides lockouts, they also can't, I don't know, they can't put signage on your door every day. They can't, you know, there's a lot of things that they can't do that the Attorney General's office, I guess, had noticed some years ago that they do to kind of intimidate people, scare them out of their homes.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, I think you're raising really important concerns. I think sometimes the focus is on what happens after the tenant is sued in court and then getting them an attorney, but there's all these other things that are happening before. And there is a real concern that people will either voluntarily move out once, you know, there's a threat of eviction, or just other forms of harassment. You know, John mentioned earlier the issues with the fires, and there's, you know, many cases of lack of heat during this winter, including in NYCHA developments in our district. And so I think it speaks to kind of the broader array of resources that need to be brought in terms of addressing some of these concerns. That includes, you know, code enforcement with HPD, and I think that implicates some of the funding issues regarding potential budget cuts. Because how are we going to do code enforcement when we're cutting that budget? And obviously the issues with NYCHA, with lack of heat, like those are broader capital funding issues. And I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. There's a lot of different things, and I would just flag that I think part of the power that tenants have is working with each other. And so while it's important to have a lawyer, tenants coming together and organizing their building, advocating for themselves, there's a lot of power to doing that and taking that collective action. And I'll just plug for legal aid, we do have a group advocacy project. And so if there is a group of tenants who can work together, who want additional legal resources to help them with their advocacy, that's something that we could potentially do. But usually when we're seeing issues around repairs or harassment, it's not just one individual tenant. Usually a lot of longer term tenants within a building are experiencing the same thing.
Okay, thank you very much. Dawn, you have any other questions?
No, I think maybe I'll send an email, because like I said, I worked on Hurricane Sandy recovery with Mr. Carrion and his and some members of his close associates. And so I think it would be great to write a letter right away. I was going to try to connect with him on LinkedIn, but to write a letter and make sure they start coming to our meetings right away.
Okay, thank you, Dawn. Okay, next, Xavier.
First, Jason, thank you so much for coming and presenting. Much appreciated. A couple things to raise. And if you have access to this information, it'd be very helpful. If not, if you could circle back to us. The economic bans that we're seeking relief, knowing what that was for our neighborhood, if you have that data now or can get it for us, that would be great. Also, to those within NYCHA who were seeking relief, especially those that had gone under the RAD Pact conversion process. There's a lot of rumblings that people were evicted or pushed out and couldn't seek relief. I'd like to see if there were any people who had reached out during that time to be able to stay in their homes, especially since we have a lion's share of NYCHA in our community.
So I didn't fully understand the first part of the question. And when you're talking about income bands, can you just elaborate what specifically?
So again, whether it's disclosed or not, but whether there's someone who's living in an affordable housing, or if they're living in NYCHA, or if they're living in a standard rate apartment, again, knowing which, because we have a lot of mixed income within our community, where that breaks down. Do you have that data that people who are seeking counsel with legal aid?
Oh, okay. I don't have that information off the top of my head. So during the pandemic, I'll just say generally that the legal services that we were providing, there was a lot more income waivers that we were getting from the city, which is part of the funding. I think part of the challenge moving forward is going to be, how do we meet the needs of the tenants as we see more and more eviction cases being filed. And I think that's a real challenge in terms of having the capacity to actually do that, because we're trying to scale up these legal services programs very, very, very quickly. And so that's a real issue. And so there's questions around what should be the income guidelines to qualify for right to counsel. I believe it's 200% of federal poverty, and I think there's a push in city council to increase that to 400%. But those are real issues for sure.
In the second part, any members of our NYCHA community or those that have gone through conversion?
I don't have that information.
Okay.
I don't have that information.
No, I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much for presenting. Okay.
No problem.
Thank you, Xavier. Alonzo?
Thank you, Mr. Green. And thank you again, Jason, for coming in to speak to us. I just have a question in regards to the ERAP. I know that it's been mentioned a number of times from my position as a association president and close to the ground when it comes to people's need for the ERAP. I know the moratorium is ending for evictions, and a lot of people's cases are based on their approval of being approved on ERAP. Unfortunately, some of our people have been stuck in their ERAP loop since summer of last year, or even before. And I kind of have a two-part question. I was just wondering, has it been confirmed at all that there are going to be more funds put into the ERAP system, because you have so many people who are still in the loop, but then we hear that the funds have been depleted. So has it been confirmed that funds will be available for new applications? And then also my second question would be, for those who have been in the loop for so long, again, some people have been stuck since July, August of last year, and it's still waiting confirmation or even processing other ERAP applications. Is there any way that you could offer any kind of expediting of these applications? I mean, is there a number or email or any office that they could call to kind of push along this process? Because again, some of them have been waiting for a while, and their eviction cases will be based on their ERAP notifications. So those are my questions.
Okay, so, yeah. So in terms of the funding piece of it, we don't have any confirmation that there will be additional funding added. I think that's a really important issue, and I think we should be putting pressure on our state elected officials as well as the governor's office to put additional money into the ERAP program. There's also other housing subsidy programs that many of the tenant advocate community is pushing for, and so I can talk about that really quickly once we finish with this round of questions. I can elaborate a little bit more about some of the legislation that a lot of advocacy groups are pushing for. And then in terms of the other part of the issue that you raised, I think my understanding is you should be able to check online to see the status of your application. I don't know enough about the details of the different situations that the tenants you're working with are dealing with. If you want to shoot me an email, I can check with our ERAP team. We have a lot of people who focus just on the ERAP program and the issues with that. And so maybe there's some advice, or maybe there's something more that we can do to help the tenants that you're working with. But I'll drop my contact information in the chat.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
So I saw John put a question regarding where can people fill out ERAP. I believe it should be online. And I think there's also a number you can call.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Thank
can
you.
drop a link in the chat after I finish the presentation.
Next is Beverly number one, since you're the only one this month. Beverly, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Jason, for the presentation and the information. My question is, does these legal programs and laws apply to housing buildings that have less than 6 units, and for the buildings that's owned and operated by HPD and any of their programs like the tow programs and stuff like that?
Yeah, for right to counsel, there shouldn't be any restrictions based on units or ownership. Yeah, that should
Okay.
apply to anyone who's meets, there's certain income eligibility, but yeah, everyone should be able to qualify.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the committee? Are there any questions from the public?
I also have some other points that I wanted to cover. If
Okay.
also just want
no problem, Jason. I just want to make sure that if there were any other questions that they would have a chance to ask them. But since there are no other hands raised, Jason.
John, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, ma'am.
Whitaker has her hand raised in the attendee section.
Oh, okay. Okay, now. All right. If you're talking.
Hi, I was waiting for the unmute button. Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Nye.
Hi, guys. My question, and I don't know, Jason, it is a little bit data driven and could be helpful also for our Health and Human Services Committee. If there was a way for your ERAP team to let us know if there's any data or where we could go for data to inform us how many residents from East Harlem have either applied for ERAP or are in the pipeline for potential court eviction cases, because I think that would give us the information we need, to your point, to better mobilize and better advocate for whether it's additional funding to replenish the ERAP bucket and or pushing for the good cause, legislation and or other things. So I didn't know if either your team might have some data, because I know you guys also track some data to be able to show the great work that you're doing, or if they had a way to point us in the right direction so that we could use that information to better support our neighbors.
I don't have that information. I can ask around and see if we can figure out how to get that information, and I can share that with the committee.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the public? Marlene, do you see any raised hands?
No more raised hands in the public.
Okay, Jason, the floor is yours again.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to flag 3 key pieces of legislation that's before the state legislature. So now I mentioned earlier the good cause eviction bill. And so that's something that's really important. There's a lot of tenants who don't live in rent regulated housing who are vulnerable to evictions. They have very little rights. The good cause eviction bill would provide additional protections to tenants in terms of limiting rent increases, and would also protect tenants from just being kind of arbitrarily losing their apartment. Aside from landlords would still be able to evict based on owner use or lease violations and things like that, but it wouldn't. It would provide some additional level of protections for unregulated tenants in New York State. And so that's one piece of legislation that many housing advocates are pushing for. A second is regarding the Housing Access Voucher Program. And so this is a rental assistance program that would target people who are currently homeless or at risk of homelessness. And so this this program is being advocated again by many in the tenant advocacy community and would be able to help a lot of vulnerable tenants and people who are homeless. And then the last bill that I want to flag is the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. And so this is a bill that would make it easier for New York tenants to organize, buy, and convert their buildings to low-income cooperatives, community land trusts, or even public housing. And so this is another way to increase the affordable housing stock in our communities and also provide potential home ownership. And so those three bills are being kind of championed by the Housing Justice for All Coalition, which includes the Legal Aid Society and many other groups. And I can drop a link in the chat if you want a little bit more information on that. And so hopefully, I think, it'd be great for the Housing Committee to kind of express their support, whether it's through resolution or advocacy with our state elected officials. So I wanted to flag those bills. Regarding the other two items, I'll just make a couple quick points regarding that. Regarding the budget cut, so as John said, that's something that would be really problematic. There are agencies that the Mayor Adams has committed to not cutting, which includes the NYPD. And so I think there's a really strong argument that we should be making that housing shouldn't be cut, right? It's critical that we provide that funding. And I also wanted to just flag that the executive budget at the state level was released, I think very recently. And while there's some good things in there, there's also more that I think many of us would like to see, including additional capital commitments for NYCHA, things like that, which are not included in the current executive budget. There's a lot of, as well as like funding for things like the Housing Access Voucher Program that I mentioned earlier. I know we're short on time, but there's a number of other things that I think this committee and the Community Board 11 have been advocating for in terms of investment and resources for housing, whether it's more enforcement regarding housing rights for tenants, home ownership opportunities, things like that. And so I just wanted to flag that there's also the state executive budget, and that, in addition to the kind of city budget concerns that we have. And then the last point regarding the New York City deputy mayor. And so, John, as you did note, the Mayor Adams didn't announce his housing leadership team. And so there's some really great people that were named, but at the same time, none of them are a deputy mayor. So there is no more New York City deputy mayor for housing. There was under the de Blasio administration. And so I just want to provide a little bit of nuance on that, just my personal kind of opinion. Because of the way that the new deputy mayor structure has been set up, many of the different housing functions within the city are now divided among the different deputy mayors. So let me pull that up. I'm just looking at some. So this is more just kind of the organizational structure of city government. But under this new structure, the Department of City Planning would report to the Deputy Mayor for Economic and Workforce Development. The Department of Buildings would report to the Deputy Mayor for Operations. Department of Homeless Services would report to the Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services. And so in the past, where we would have a New York City Deputy Mayor for Housing that would advocate for all of these different housing issues, and the different housing agencies would report to them, that's now kind of split up. And so, I think there's a really strong argument why we would want to see a deputy mayor for housing who can make sure that housing is a priority, and that there's that kind of direct access in organizational structure that would allow housing to be at the forefront of kind of the city government structure. But Yeah, so I just wanted to share that kind of nuance regarding the housing leadership structure.
Okay, thank you very much, Jason. Are there any other questions from the committee or from the public?
I don't see any hands, John.
Okay, thank you very much for the information, Jason. It was very good, and it's very useful. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you for having me. Take care.
You too. Okay, so now we can go on to our first presentation. It's an informational presentation on Sendero Verde Phase 1, about the lottery, I believe. Are they ready to make their presentation?
Yes, hello. This is Dylan Gibbs.
Okay.
I'm also joined by a couple of my colleagues. If they could also, I'm not sure if they also have the ability to speak.
Yes, they do. They're all panelists, Dylan. So yes, you can mute and unmute themselves.
Okay.
The floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Share my screen. A second. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So as I mentioned, my name is Dylan Gibbs. I work with L&M Development Partners. I'm joined by a couple colleagues, Jessica Yoon, who also works for L&M Development Partners, our colleagues at Jonathan Rose Companies, Sabrina Barker and Nicole Zakak, and our partner at Acacia Network, Ariel Garcia. So we're here to provide an update to the Housing Committee on Building B, Sendero Verde Building B, which is 60 East 112th and 75 East 111th Street. A lot of you may be familiar with the project, but I'm just going to give a general overview just in case you're not. So the development team, as I mentioned, is Acacia Network, Jonathan Rose Companies, and L&M Development Partners. Acacia is the nation's leading Latino integrated care nonprofit, delivering primary healthcare, behavioral healthcare, and housing. Jonathan Rose is a leading developer and investor in sustainable, affordable, and mixed income multifamily real estate with a focus on health and wellness in the community. And L&M Development Partners is an innovator in developing quality, affordable, mixed income, and market rate housing, with a focus on improving the neighborhoods in which we work. Some of the government partners and finance partners on the project include HDC, HPD, NYC Parks, the New York City Council, NYSERDA, the Department of Environmental Conservation, and Bank of America. And these are some other key members on our team. So we have Handel Architects, L&M Builders Group as a contractor, Rose Community Management, which will be managing the building once it's fully constructed, CNC Marketing Agent, and Promesa, which will be providing social services. So some of the basics of this project are that it's located on Manhattan Block 1617, which is bound by Madison Avenue to the west, 112th Street to the north, Park Avenue to the east, and East 111th Street to the south. And so here you can see an aerial of what the site originally looked like, and on the bottom you can see what it looks like now that construction has started. And one thing I just want to point out is that this project started as a HPD Sustain NYC RFP. So at the heart of this project is really ambitious climate and energy efficiency goals. So additional elements of this project were that we wanted to create a building that would bring these elements together. So we wanted to bring education, we wanted to provide local jobs, we wanted to provide affordable housing in a neighborhood that is walkable and there's transit access. We wanted to provide healthcare and arts and culture, as well as provide a space for the community that had open space, recreation, community gardens, social services, et cetera. So this is really at the heart of this project. And so the general overview of this project, how that all comes together is this. So we have Building B North, which is this taller building on the right side. It's 15 stories and 276 units. We have Building B South, which is on the left side, which is 10 stories and it's 85 units. In total, there's 361 affordable apartments. There's 11,450 square feet of Green Thumb community gardens. There's 12,000 square feet for Union Settlement Association, which is located in the building to the left, B South. There's 52,000 square feet for Harlem Children's Zone School, which is located in Building B North, which is the building to the right. And then there's also the publicly accessible courtyard that is in between all the buildings. And this is just a site plan to give you a better visual of the project. So you have Building B North along 112th Street, Building B South along 111th Street. You have the two Green Thumb gardens facing the avenues on both sides, and then you have the publicly accessible open space in the middle. Okay, so the main update that we have is that applications for Sendero Verde Phase B are officially live. They launched on December 27th, 2021. And we made sure we were in constant communication with the Community Board 11, as well as the City Council, letting them know about the launch of applications. Applications will be live for 2 months, and the application period ends on February 25th. And the units, all 361 units are available, and they are available to units ranging from 30 to 90% AMI. And if you would like to apply, you can visit this Housing Connect link. You can also visit senderoverdelottery.com where there will be information on the building, as well as a link to Housing Connect website.
Thanks, Dylan. So good evening, everybody. My name is Ariel Garcia from the Acacia Network. We are the community organization that's involved in this project as a community partner. And we are also, through our affiliate organization, Promesa Inc., the social service provider as well, overseeing about 36 units of supportive housing in the first phase of the project. So as a community partner, obviously, we take our job quite seriously. We're headquartered in the Bronx, but we do have satellite offices and affiliate organizations in East Harlem. We were brought into this project from the beginning, and obviously we've done quite a bit of research, or excuse me, of outreach to the community throughout the 2-3 year construction period. So through a generous grant that was provided by L&M Development, we were able to hold some outreach and engagement classes for the community. We had some credit enhancement and credit education classes that we started in 2019. We served about 248 individuals through individual sessions, and we also held some larger sessions, obviously face-to-face with a group of participants. All of that changed in 2020, obviously, with the pandemic. So we were able to hold virtual sessions with about 264 participants, all of which we helped to build their credit and tell them about kind of some of the programs that are out there, provide linkages as well, and also inform them that this project at some point would be completed and they'd be eligible to apply. In addition to obviously holding the credit counseling sessions, we've been in constant communication with Councilmember Ayala's office. We've presented to this community board numerous times. We've reached out to local organizations to spread the word. We've also communicated via social media, e-blasts. As you can see on the photo on the right there, we've provided marketing and branding for the Sendero Verde project to the community at local kiosks and at subway entrances. And we've also issued ads in local newspapers so that, again, the community is aware of this project and that we get the maximum number of applicants that we can. Next slide, please. In addition to obviously the community outreach, we made a commitment to this community board and to the city that this project would meet certain requirements in terms of MWBE goals and support for the community. So to date, we've awarded about $31.7 million in contracts. to MWBE goals, far exceeding our initial goal of 18.6 million. We were awarded 36 total awards, obviously 47% of those to MBEs and 19 MWBEs, which comprise about 53% of the total. And so again, we're trying to show our commitment to the community and providing much needed jobs and economic development as we had all agreed to do. Through a local initiative with Positive Workforce, we held some local training sessions, again, to try to get jobs for CB11 residents. And so we've trained a total of 64 residents in construction site safety and additional core classes that help to, increase their competence in terms of construction jobs and trades and things like that. And to date, we've placed 32 CB11 residents in positions such as masonry, painting, flooring, excavation, all across the construction site. And obviously, this is for Building B, but Building A is currently under construction. And so if you folks could help us obviously spread the word, we'd be more than happy to take on additional candidates. And as you can see at the bottom of the PDF there, there is information where they can reach out to us, and we're happy to do the intake with them and help provide those folks with jobs and training.
Thanks, Ariel. Hello, everybody. I'm Nicole Zakak, a development manager at Jonathan Rose Companies, and it's a pleasure to be presenting to all of you. As a refresher, Sendero Verde Phase 1 will have 361 affordable apartments spread over 7 income tiers, ranging from formerly homeless to 90% of area median income. Of our 361 units, 60% will be for households earning 60% of AMI or below, and we are really targeting those deeper affordability tiers, so 40% of all units will be at 40% of AMI and below. As already mentioned, rents start for this building at $388 per studio per month, and goes up to $2,524 for a 3-bedroom unit at 90% AMI. As Ariel mentioned, our 36 units available for formerly homeless households will have supportive services provided by Promesa, an affiliate of Acacia. Next slide, please. So here you can see some typical floor plans for our studios: 1 beds, 2 beds, and 3 beds. All units have stainless steel appliances with a dishwasher, and the units will vary on size depending on location and level in the building. Next slide, please. So here you can see some renderings of a typical unit and really get a sense of the finishes and appliances of each of these residential units. You can see that each unit has really large triple glazed windows, which allow a lot of light to come in, but keeps out street noise and provides a super well insulated facade. So this is just some additional views of a residential unit. Sustainability was really key in the design of Sendero Verde, and we have a very energy efficient building with all low or no VOC materials. Due to the passive house requirements, our energy recovery ventilators, or ERVs, will capture the energy in the exhaust air and helps precondition outside air and provides continuous fresh air to each of these units. In addition, each unit has an individual temperature control provided via VRFs. Next slide, please. Cool. So Sendero Verde will have a full suite of residential amenities. Here you can see views of the 2 community rooms in the B South and B North building. In addition to these lounges, we will also have a full gym, laundry room, bike storage, computer lounge, and outdoor terraces. The building will also feature on-site property management offices, which with management provided by Rose Community Management, who will utilize our communities of opportunity model to service our residents. In addition, Promesa will also have on-site offices, which will be providing social services for our formerly homeless residents and for our entire community.
Okay, so just wanted to provide some construction updates as well. Sendero Verde B should be, we anticipate TCO this summer. And so in the photos here, you can see just some of the improvements that have happened over time. So initially, here we have some of the facade going up and some of the passive house elements being installed. And we also have a photo of the completed facade, what it looks like now. Another element, as well as you can see, it's an apartment unit in progress with some of the appliances already installed. The amenity space that Nicole just mentioned in progress, as well as some of the ground floor facade with the windows recently placed. And so we anticipate the TCO this summer, and hopefully residents will be able to move in shortly after. We're also working on the sewer project, which is ongoing and is anticipated to be completed this fall as well. And on the bottom left, you can see a photo of some of the sewer work going on as well. Another element of the project is Sendero Verde A, which construction activity began in the fall of 2021. And construction is anticipated to be completed in the spring of 2024. This is going to be a 34-story building. It's going to offer an additional 348 affordable apartments. There will also be 8,500 square feet for Harlem Children's Zone. There'll be another 2,500 square feet for Acacia Arts. There'll be another 11,500 square foot community facility space. And there will also be 6,200 square feet of ground floor retail along Madison Avenue. And this will also have a connecting piece to the existing courtyard to complete it. And here's just some photos of some of the construction work and foundation work that's ongoing. So looking forward, what's next is this spring/summer, we will be wrapping up construction on Sendero Verde B. As I mentioned, applications on Housing Connect will end on February 25th. So we encourage everyone to apply, and we look forward to residents moving in this summer. And then ongoing, as I mentioned, Sendero Verde A is under construction. As Ariel mentioned, we are engaging in outreach with nonprofit organizations to hire and train local residents. So please reach out if you know anyone that's looking for an opportunity. And then in the not so distant future, spring 2024, construction will be wrapping up on Sendero Verde A. And at that time, the housing lottery will be commencing then. And so we look forward to coming back to the board and announcing when that opportunity is available as well. So we want to thank the board for giving us the time to present, and we really hope to continue to spread the word and have as many applicants as possible. And also just the FYI, we also, we've provided this presentation to the board, and there are some additional slides that just highlight the courtyard space and some other amenity spaces at the end.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving us this information. Are there any questions from the committee? Dawn?
Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. I just wanted to go back to who are your local partners again, and do you guys drill down to the demographics of who's getting the apartments? As you might know, East Harlem has become very diverse. I think last few census, our fastest growing group is Asian Americans. How do your local partners make sure that the demographics match the actual neighborhood? And I guess who are they, some of the local partners?
So the local partner is us, the Acacia Network. So we're a Bronx not-for-profit affordable housing property manager, social service provider, primary healthcare provider. We also actually have a couple of our affiliate organizations. So we are the parent company of a number of affiliates. that are based in East Harlem. One of them is IPRE. Another one is Operation Fight Back. And so those are the grassroots organizations that are currently in East Harlem. In terms of the outreach, or excuse me, what was the other question that you had?
I was curious about the demographics of the people who will get these apartments. And so I was wondering about some of the local partners and, you know, the outreach to make sure that the people who get the apartments match the diverse demographics of our neighborhood.
So in terms of demographics, I know that we do have a lot of the applications that we have received are kind of broken out generally by kind of the income categories that those folks are applying for. But in terms of demographics, I'm not sure, and maybe one of my colleagues knows the answer to this. I'm not sure if we're actually able to see that information in terms of who's applied.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll get, I know that we do, sorry, Jessica Yoon from LNM. I guess in terms of the setup when we begin or before we begin the marketing process, we, you know, through the help of our partners at Acacia, the development team, we reached out to CB11 and spoke with the district manager as well as Councilmember Ayala's office to try to get community-based organizations who we could send the flyers or lottery announcements to help spread the word. So that I think was a big effort in trying to get a broad reach. The apartments serve a pretty wide variety from formerly homeless, and Nicole mentioned the many apartments that are at 40% of AMI and below, that we hope help us to serve a diverse income range. And then we don't have the information yet, because I think when the Housing Connect lottery closes is when we find out really how many people and like what zip codes they applied from. So I think we'll be able to get that type of information so that we can see who's applying from kind of East Harlem zip codes. I don't think Housing Connect, I don't know if Housing Connect provides us a breakdown by ethnicity or race. We can definitely find out though.
Yeah, that's why I asked about,
able to provide.
That's why I asked about your local partners, just because, and I noticed that Senator Clear's person is off the call, but I definitely would encourage you to reach out to the senator's office and make sure that you have a balanced group of local partners, as well as our Acacia partners in the Bronx, and make sure that this is representative of the community in terms of the demographics. I just
absolutely, having
sat in on these, I mean, discussions for 20 years now, I still think some of the important things to the community slip through the cracks. So for me, I always like to see that the types of outreach are sensitive to the different types of people who live in this community ward area. So I will be asking about that in the future and looking for some local partners that reflect the diversity of the community.
Definitely. I think we were definitely focused on trying to find groups in East Harlem that could help spread the word about the launching of the Housing Connect applications. We do have 50% of the units with a marketing preference for residents already coming from this community board.
Thank you very much. Beverly?
Thank you guys, Element, for the presentation and the informational update. I have like 3 questions. First, Dylan, Mr. Gibbs, you made a reference to TCO. Can you tell me what that stands for?
Temporary certificate of occupancy. So when the building can be occupied.
Okay, thank you. My next question has to do with you speaking around helping people with the getting their credits okay in order for them to apply successfully for the units. I know it's been a hardship because of the pandemic and everything. I just want to know, are you still reaching out to the communities to increase the knowledge to the people that you are still helping, and where would they go in order to help work out their credit so they can apply, if not for building B, but definitely for building A that's still being constructed?
Yeah, so I think in terms of building B, I mean, the grant that we were able to provide services under finished in 2020. So we provided those services for about 2 years. Obviously, some of the work that we do does require quite a bit of support on our side. So we do have to obviously, work with the communities, and we were, like I said, provided that grant by L&M so that we can carry out those services. For building A, I think, our organization, obviously, as a local not-for-profit organization that does provide these services, we are willing and able to help folks when they do have questions. We can point them in the right direction. If they need access to technologies, computers, to fill out these applications, we're obviously able to do that as well. If we obviously continue the services for building A, I think our team will definitely look to do that. Again, bringing a good overall supportive service to a lot of the people here in this community.
Okay, thank you. And my last question is regard to this, to the low-income housing tax credit. Did y'all apply for that, or is that part of the financing and stuff for this development?
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now I was just reading some, just trying to catch up on the type of things that comes with it. Is there a termination date? Because I'm looking way beyond 30 years, for this community to be vital for the people and their children after us to be able to still have affordable housing. So I want to know, is there any termination date on the LIHTC paperwork?
Yeah.
And if y'all have to renew it, what is the term period?
Yep. So typically the LIHTC, extended affordability period is 30 years. However, on this project, we entered into an affordability agreement of 60 years. And then on top of that, half of the units are permanently affordable.
Can you explain, how do you mean permanently affordable? To what AMI?
So the AMIs that were shown, so half of the units are permanently restricted to those. And then whatever is not permanent, we've signed on for 60 years, kind of higher than the typical 30.
Oh, for 60 years, not 6 years.
Yeah. So there's 60
Okay.
and permanent. Whereas what you've probably seen is that typically under those LIHTC programs, I think you've probably seen maybe like the 30-year period.
Right. That's so true. And like I said, I'm concerned about the future generations coming up for affordability, because a lot of buildings are being built for rentals. And in regards to the increases for the leases, how does that work with an affordable building like yours? If the housing board, increases the rental leases every 1 or 2 years, how does that help for these buildings to still stay affordable? Or do you have anything in place to make sure that they still stay affordable? Like, are these buildings exempt from the rent increases from 1 lease to 2 leases per year or anything like that?
No, so they're income restricted and they are all under rent stabilization, but it's dependent on how if the median income increases in New York. I think, for example, in 2022, the area median income has not increased over what it was in 2021. So it's following rules of the AMI bans. And then they are all entered into, like they are going to be registered as rent stabilized units so that they're not kind of free market unregulated units.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Are there any other questions from the committee? Oh, Marlene?
Yes, I have a question. My question is for Mr. Garcia. It's more of a human services question, but I'm just interested. So how many units of supportive housing did you say? Did you say 36 or did I make that number up?
36, yeah.
Oh, okay. And will they all have wraparound services?
Those 36 units will, yes.
They will. Okay.
And yeah, so we're gonna have an office on site, supportive service counselor that will be providing services and linkages to services for those formerly homeless units. And I think as Nicole also mentioned, that person will also be able to provide linkages and information for any folks in the building that are interested. And so we'll be disseminating all that information to them if they come knocking on the door.
Right, like referral services.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I was just interested. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sorry about that. Yeah, any other questions from the committee or the public?
You have one hand raised in the attendee section, John from Godfrey Moy. I apologize if I mispronounced your last name.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, that's okay. Moyer. Only quick question was, maybe it was already mentioned, of the 324 units, will they all be going to the lottery? Or if someone doesn't get the lottery, can they normally, like a regular apartment, apply to move into the building?
So they are all through the lottery. And then we have 361 total. As Ariel mentioned, there's the 36 that are supportive housing. So those are coming as referrals, like out of the homeless shelter system. So the 324 units listed are the ones available through the HPD lottery.
Okay, thank you.
Candy?
Hi, thanks for the presentation. So are you going to provide, I'm not sure if I heard, are you going to have a doorman on the premises as well or no?
Ariel, jump in if I'm characterizing it wrong. So there's kind of two towers. The one on 111th Street is not attended. We do have property staff, who may be floating throughout the building. The entrance from 112th Street, which is where the supportive housing is located, will have a staff person in the lobby at the desk as part of like a security and lobby staff setup.
Is that gonna be 24 hours?
Yes.
And then the apartments with the one bedroom. So I know that HPD has changed the guidelines where with a one bedroom, it can add, you can have up to 3 people living in that one bedroom apartment. Is that how you're going to do your selection? Least enough?
Yeah, so I think if you look on senderoverdelottery.com or on the Housing Connect website, you'll see all of the household size ranges. So for a 1-bedroom, you're right, it can be as low as 1 person or as high as 3 people.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions from the committee or the public? Beverly?
Yes, thank you. Just one quick question. In regards to this project, it's a very large project. Do you have any type of parking facilities or arrangements for this project?
No, there's no on-site parking at this project.
Okay, any other questions? Marlene, are there any other hands raised?
No, there aren't any other hands raised, John.
Okay, so thank you very much for the presentation, and we very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Okay, next presentation is from the Fortune Society.
Hi, this is
Yes.
Esther. I'm going to screen share now.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Stanley Richards. I'm the Deputy CEO of Fortune Society. I'm joined by my colleague, Sherry Goldstein, VP of Operation, and Esther. We want to continue with our updates about our exciting new project, Castle 3, that's located at 107-111 East 123rd Street. I want to talk a little bit about Fortune Society and our vision for what this building would mean for the community. This building is 82 units of affordable and supportive housing for people earning 60% to 30% AMI. 58 of the units are reserved for people homeless and formerly incarcerated. I'm sorry. Formerly incarcerated, 24 affordable units, including one for the super, and on-site comprehensive services. This is a building that we envision that will provide services and housing to many of the members in the Community Board 11 area, as well as formerly incarcerated homeless individuals. Next slide, please. As you can see, the design of the building, there is going to be supportive services, providing services to the tenants of the building and access to services for the larger community. Before the pandemic, myself and a number of Fortune staff walked that area with Councilwoman Ayala. We went to the park, we engaged people that were out there, engaged them and offered services, and really walked around just listening to people, getting a sense for what's happening in the community, because we want to be good neighbors and we want to be community partners to increase safety and increase resources in the community. So on the ground floor of the building, we'll have a rear yard, there'll be an exercise room, a garden, skylights, entry vestibule, lobby mailroom, bringing real light, transparency, 24-hour cameras, 24-hour front desk staff to make sure the building is secure, and just being really good neighbors. It's a beautiful building. It is environmentally friendly, environmental materials, and it incorporates innovation and housing, which we're really excited about. Next slide. A little bit about the Fortune Society. Fortune's been around for 54 years. I am an example of how Fortune opens its doors and provides the kind of services and resources and opportunities for people to build new lives. I am a formerly incarcerated person. I spent many of my younger years cycling in and out of jail and prison. And it wasn't until I came home in 1991 and walked through the doors of Fortune that Fortune gave me an opportunity to give back. When I was in prison, I went to college, and it was the foundation that really helped me change my life. I went from believing that my life was going to be destined to prison and jails and the streets to believing that my life could be something different. And all I needed was a community who would give me an opportunity. And Fortune was that community. And in 1991, I started as a counselor in Fortune Society. And 30 years later, I just left the Department of Corrections, first formerly incarcerated first deputy commissioner in the city of New York, and I might add in the country, first formerly incarcerated person appointed to the Board of Correction that was overseeing the Department of Correction. And today, I am the deputy CEO of an organization that serves over 6,000 people a year. We have over 300 staff, 50% of our staff are people with lived experiences. 30% of our executive team are people with lived experiences. And so we are an organization that walks the talk. And we know that our job, like they did for me, is to see the beauty in people before sometimes they see it in themselves. And we do that through multiple points of entry in our services, education, employment, mental health, behavioral health services, HIV/AIDS case management, housing, alternatives to incarceration. No matter what door someone walks through, what we see is not the crime they committed, how much time they did. We see the individual. We opened up 2 housing programs in West Harlem. One is known as the Castle. You probably see it if you ever drove down Riverside Drive. It literally looks like a castle. And then we opened up Castle Gardens, which is supportive and low-income, affordable housing development, similar to what we're going to be building on 123rd Street. And we have been there. Castle opened up in 2002. Castle Gardens opened up in 2010. And we have been really good neighbors. Community Board 9 meets in our community space pre-COVID. We throw an annual Halloween scary house at the castle where we invite the community to come in free of charge. We're not like those big scare places where they charge. It's free of charge. We give kids candy, we sugar them up, and then we send them back home to their families. But it's a safe place for them to have fun. And we do food distribution every week. We provide vegetables and food vouchers to community members in Community Board 9. We see about 100 people every Wednesday, mostly seniors, who are in need of food and vegetables. It's healthy. We do cooking demonstrations. So we've really been a community partner, and we want to be a community partner with Community Board 11. Next slide. So here's the makeup of the units. It is a relatively small building. Here in the previous presentation, it is a really small building compared to the project that they are bringing online. But it's a project of community significance, meaning that this project will add to the community, not only add housing for those who are in need of housing, but add resources to provide people an opportunity to refer a family member, to connect someone to services who's in need, and to have a partner like Fortune be a community partner. So we have the 82 units, 58 of them are going to be supportive housing units, up to 60% AMI. And then we have studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 1 for the super. And you can see the rent breakdown and the AMI breakdown. And when we first came to Community Board 11, what we heard is that what Community Board 11 needs is real affordable units. And so we've structured this in a way we hope that the community feels real, that responds to that request to have affordable housing for the members of that community. Next slide. Again, here's the breakout in terms of percentages, how many 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, and studios. Most of them are studios, but this is the breakdown. Next slide. This piece is really important to us because this is about the unit makeup and engaging the community to make sure that the community feels valued, feels appreciated, and is included. We do need to go through a lottery, but there are set asides. 50% of the affordable units are reserved for Community Board 11 residents, and we're really proud of that. We, as I said, want to make sure that we're adding to the community. Marketing and outreach will begin 6 months before the building is open. We're going to be putting out flyers. We're going to be coming before this committee, the board. We are going to be engaging in ways that people know about the project and people can apply and get into the project. We're going to be advertising in local newspapers. We're going to have posters. We will have training sessions on at Fortune's computer lab, so people have access to computers. And we're going to use an experienced property management team to answer any questions and to really help people walk through this process. Next slide. Fortune itself, as I said, we are a multi-service organization that provides a range of services. One of the things we learned early on is that if someone walks in your door as an organization and you tell them they got to go someplace else to get services, you increase the likelihood that that person is going to remain disconnected from services. So we have been organically evolving our services so that no matter what door someone walks through, if they walk through our mental health program, they get access to employment. If they come in through employment, they can get access to our drug treatment, our diversion program, our health program. And so we have this range of services, particularly our employment program. We've been building that out over the years. It involves employment readiness workshop where people learn how to do a strategic job search, get their resume together, uh, uh, develop contacts for employees and start their job search. Then there's a second piece to it where people who come in who may not have the work experience or have the skills, we have a hard skills training. You see a picture there from one of our classes where people graduated from our construction program and our environmental remediation program. And so we've been adding that out: construction, environmental remediation, CDL license, um, culinary arts. We have a range of trainings, and we serve people throughout the 5 boroughs. But more specifically, over the 54 years, we have developed strong partnerships. Strive Employment Group, we have been partners with them for decades. Exodus program, I know the CEO personally, and we know that organization, and they're right on the east side of where this building is going to be. And so we want to partner with those organizations. We want to partner with CB11 and New York City hiring. We want to make sure we're following New York City hiring guidelines. We want the local community involved with this project. So we're really excited about it. As we move forward, we're going to continue to engage with you. We're going to share the job openings, and we really want to make sure that the Community Board 11 community is involved in this project. Next. This is a brief presentation. So I just want to thank you. We're open for any questions you may have. Willing to talk to you more about Fortune, about the project. But before we go, I want to add one thing. This project is a personal commitment to me, and let me explain why. My 94-year-old grandmother lives in Wagner Projects. She's been in that project over 50 years. And so this project is adding capacity and resources to a community that my grandmother's been in for decades. And so it's personal to me. As Joanne and I, our president and CEO, when we opened up Castle Gardens and opened up the academy, what we said to the community is we'll give you our personal email and cell phone numbers because we want you to know if you have any concerns, you have any problems, you can personally call us and we will respond. And I'm extending that commitment to Community Board 11 for both myself and Joanne Page, our president and CEO. We want to be good community partners. So I want to thank you all for your time, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I see that there are a couple of hands up. Beverly?
Yes, Danny, thank you so very much for the presentation. I have a couple of questions. In regards to the 58 units that are studio, are those also part of the 50% preference for Community Board 11? And the second question is regards to if the other apartments are affordable, that's not the supportive housing part. Do y'all have any program to help people with their credit rating? I don't know how the Housing Connect works with the credit rating of people in this community, and if that's a underlying issue for them being able to get apartments. So I want to know if you do any outreach to the community to help them clear up any problems with their credit ratings, and again, the other things regarding the 50% preference regarding the 58 units that's for supportive housing. Thank you so very much. I'll go mute so I can hear your answer. And again, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you for those questions. One is there are 28 units that are for affordable. 50% of those 28 units are set aside for Community Board 11. But of course, we're not just gonna, if we have 20 people from Community Board 11 who apply and they're eligible, they would go in. We're not holding units for anyone specifically. We want Community Board 11 to be a significant part of the building. So it's 50% of the 28. We, as a social service organization, we do in our employment services program, we do financial literacy, helping people with taxes, helping people with their understanding their their credit history, applying for credit and that sort of thing. But let me explain, let me give you an example of how Fortune operates with this. We are so community minded. When we opened up Castle Gardens and we had our property management, we were recruiting people. We knew the very people from that community, and that was Community Board 9. We knew the very people from that community, including our people, would have credit that would be considered by most unworthy for rental or for extension of credit. And so Sherry Goldstein, who's on this call right now, and I personally, we said to our property managers, where normally they would say if you have a credit limit between 500 and 600 or 400 and 500, I don't remember what it was, Sherry, but it was on the very low end of the credit that normally you wouldn't even be able to get credit. Sherry and I personally said we do not want those cases rejected. We want to personally have a conversation with the person because we understand sometimes people have student loans that get defaulted. Sometimes people are victimized by predatory lenders and they get duped into extending and accessing resources that they can't afford to pay back, and they try and they get jammed up. So we personally wanted to look at those cases and have a conversation, and we accepted people in Castle Gardens who had credit under 500 that under normal circumstances people would have rejected. And I can tell you today, the one guy I remember, he's still in Castle Gardens. He's doing well. He has not been any issues with his rent. And so that's who we are as an organization. And so for our services, we do provide that resource. But I can tell you, we will not reject somebody because they don't have good credit. We will take it upon ourselves to say, let's look at this. Let's have a conversation, because there are always circumstances behind what you see on the score. And we know people are more than their credit score.
I just want to add that at Fortune, because we're nonprofit, now, for instance, when tax season starts, we have people come in, outsiders who come in with set hours to help you with your credit, help you with your taxes, and it's a free service. And whoever lives with us, even if they're not there for the supportive service, we always offer that service to them also. So it would be an outside organization that does come in that helps. So whether we could get someone there if they need it, or whoever it is would just come to our service center in Long Island City.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Alonzo, and by the way, Alonzo, thank you for the information that you provided in the chat earlier.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Green. First, I just wanted to thank Mr. Richards for the presentation. I'm still relatively new to the board here, but this is one of the most riveting and presentations that I've seen. So I really appreciate you coming through and sharing your personal story, because you are a true testament to all of us out here who we had a past, and you are allowing everyone to see that if you allow someone their true potential, the sky's the limit. So I appreciate that. I also, again, I wanted to say I can't wait to hear more about this project, because as a long-term East Harlem resident, seen your focus on the local hiring, the community engagement, and the basic focus on East Harlem itself. So and having the wherewithal to come here and allow us to see your progress. So I sincerely appreciate it. I apologize if I missed it as part of your presentation, but my only question is, when does the lottery begin for the project? And that's my only question. But beyond that, kudos. I appreciate your time, sincerely.
Thank you, Alonzo. I really appreciate that. We're some ways off on opening and getting to that phase, but we thought it was important, and we thank you for inviting us to start this communication early on, like making sure Community Board 11 is involved with us from the very beginning. We are still at least a couple of years off before the building opening and us being able to do the lottery. Usually it'll do, and recruitment, it'd be about 6 months before the building opens, but we're a couple of years away. So thank you for that question.
Absolutely. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank
you. Beverly?
Yes, I would like to ask another question regarding the funding. I don't know, do your funding have anything to do with the low-income housing tax credit when you do the building? And if so, I know there's a time period also on that, on how long the units stay affordable. And I want to know whether or not, do you go beyond the 30 years that is normally given for these units to be under the low-income housing tax credits or any other tax credits to be affordable?
Yes, I mean, there are these regulatory agreements where you make a commitment to operate the building as designed for 30 years. We've been around for 54 years. Our buildings will remain affordable, supportive housing for people in need, both from Community Board 11 community and from our population, well beyond the 30 years. As long as we're in existence, and we're going to be in existence for another 54 years, we're making a commitment to this. We know that the structure of our country sometimes leaves people behind, and people need opportunities to rebuild their lives, and they need the kind of structural support that this building is going to provide. So our commitment is not a commitment that aligns with the regulatory agreement. The regulatory agreement is what allows us to open up this building, but our commitment is to the people who we're going to serve and the people who we will house. So we're in this long haul.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the committee? Marlene, are there any hands, or?
No, well,
there's one. There's one.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. Don't worry.
No problem.
I don't have a question, but just a comment. I thought that was a great presentation. It seems like a great project. And obviously, as a like-minded community-based organization, I think if anything, Stanley, I'll drop you my email in the chat box, and we can communicate to see what synergies obviously are out there for the two of us. Picking up on the comment that I believe it was Dawn made about kind of the diversity of folks in our Sendero Verde project. So it would be great to connect.
Absolutely, Ariel.
Any other questions from the committee or the public?
I don't see any hands raised, John.
Okay, Mr. Richards, Ms. Goldstein, thank you very much for your presentation. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Now it's something, discussion is something really fun. The committee review of the mayor's preliminary budget.
Right. Do you mind if I interject, John, real fast?
Please.
Yes. So to the committee, the office has not received the mayor's response to your preliminary budget request. So this will go back on your agenda in March because there isn't anything to review right now. You all have not received a response.
Oh, okay, Marley. Okay, so basically that means we're done with presentations and discussions for this meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so next thing we'll go to is old business. Is there any old business from the committee? I don't have any, so.
There are no hands raised.
Okay, now we'll go to new business. Is there any new business from the committee? I don't have any of that either. Beverly, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Again, I'm still trying to figure out how to do new business, but I know that, like I stated before, my passion really is for home ownership for people of low income in the 5 boroughs, but definitely here in Community Board 11. I just was wondering with the new mayor coming up, and he's slightly mentioned path to home ownership. I'm hoping that the community, the housing committee can get together to get some more concrete information and I guess, presentations on what they really mean regarding home ownership. Like I said, I'm from a Till building, and I know with everyone making apartments for rentals, like, even though there's a lot of programs that's coming up for low income and affordability to last for years, still the incomes of the people do not sometimes match the rent increases that comes on a yearly basis. So I would hope that the community board housing, that, whatever I can help and do in this purpose is to push the idea for having housing for home ownership for this community. And whatever programs we have to get together or meetings, I'm here for that. Thank you.
Okay, Beverly. Now, and Marlene will correct me if I am wrong. Marlene, you may answer. You may have the same answer I have. So, Marlene, go right ahead.
No, you go before me. It's completely fine.
Well, you may have to correct me. So just in case, so just stand by. The thing, as I understand it, most of the home ownership programs that the city are done through HPD. Am I correct, Marlene?
Right, if it's city owned, yes.
Okay, now that means they have a new commissioner. He's been there all of 2 days. So the thing is that what we will do, we will give him time to make sure he knows what the heck he's doing. And then the thing is, we can try to get in touch with his office and see if a representative from HPD will come in and give a presentation on potential for residents to own their own home, because I think home ownership should be an aspiration that people who want to do that have and be nurtured. Okay, now I'm done with that with that answer. But Marlene, what were you going to say?
Right. So Beverly, your question sounds very nuanced. I believe it's a valid question, but it sounds like it has a lot of moving pieces. So what I would encourage you to do is send me an email or just call the board office, and then we'll speak about it together so I can understand specifically what you are requesting. So I go to the appropriate parties and make the request for them to come. Does that make sense? I just need to have a full understanding about what you were requesting?
Yes.
Okay, so just email me or call me. I want you to call me. I want to speak to you.
Okay, you got it. Thank you, Marlene.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there anyone else that has anything to say as far as new business is concerned?
Dawn has her hand up.
Okay, Dawn, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo what Ms. Pavon is saying, because when I used to work at HPD, I guess we'd say back in the day, and back in the day, homeownership was the #1 emphasis, it seemed. And it does seem like that we've gotten away from that. And the building that I lived in was part of a program where HPD let the residents take over the building and own the building, which kind of sound a little bit like what Jason Wu was talking about. But it's definitely important to advocate for that ownership, even if it's like co-op ownership. I think that, I don't know, there's a lot more dignity in giving people that option to own their homes. And I hope that HPD will look into the programs that allowed them to give people home ownership, especially like on 111th Street, when the homeowner could take the whole building and rent out 2 units. Like, it would be great for us to get back to that. So I'm glad that you brought up those points, and I'm excited about nudging this new administration in that direction if we can.
Okay, okay, Dawn. The thing, like I said, the thing is, anybody who aspires to own their own home should be encouraged, and HPD should be encouraging those residents as well. Is there anyone else, I should say, that has anything to say as far as new business is concerned?
I don't see any additional raised hand.
Okay, so I guess that we can go on to, well, Marlene, you can do roll call and we can adjourn the meeting.
Okay, no problem. Stephanie Arroyo.
Here.
Thank you. Roger Flores is excused. John Green.
Here.
Thank you. Robert Harvey. Jada Heredia. Ivy Hume. Alonzo Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. Robin Krinsky.
Here.
Thank you. Beverly Papone.
Present.
Thank you. Dawn Sanders.
Here.
Thank you. And Candy Vives Vasquez.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank the committee for their questions and being attentive during the presentations. It is appreciated. The next Housing Committee Board meeting will be Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. And by the power vested in me by CB11, I pronounce this meeting adjourned at 8:23 p.m. Thank you very much, folks.
That was a good one, John.
Have a good night.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.